Come on now, it's time for bed. Time to set your work, your worries, and even your games aside. Time to pluff the pillows and turn back the sheets. To slide beneath your blanket and let yourself come to rest. And while you wait for dreams to come, I'll tell you a story to ease the time. At the edge of the sea, where the waves meet the shore, a child went walking. The waves rolled and thundered in the rocks before washing with a gentle hiss up the beach toward the child's bare feet. They wriggled their toes into the cool, wet sand, letting the waves sweep the grains across their skin in a tickling stream on the water's retreat. Overhead, the sun shone bright but not yet hot, in a pale blue sky just freshening from dawn. A light breeze swept through the beach grass in rustling whispers, brushing against their face and teasing out tendrils of their hair to play with for a time. Gulls cried out in the air above, shadows racing over the sand as they swooped in toward the waves. The beach wandered ahead, patches of grass and occasional boulders inviting exploration and the chance for hidden treasures. The child ran about, sweeping their hands through the grass and tugging out long strands to swish through the air like a sword. They perched for a moment on a wave-smoothed boulder. Knotting several of the long grasses together, they began to weave. Over and under and over and under and over and under, braiding them into a rustling crown to adorn their head, ruler of the beach this day. Glancing behind them up the little sandy path, they could still see the window of their cozy house, where Mother was keeping an eye out while she worked. Her earlier warning echoed in their mind. Stay in sight, and don't go into the water. Mother waved, and the child waved back. Turning away, they tilted their face to the sun and reclined for a bit, sliding the tips of their fingers over the wave-worn surface of the stone beneath them. Warmth seeped slowly into their back and shoulders, while the cool breeze gusted lightly over their skin. They smiled in contentment and breathed deep the fresh, salty air. Cerulean waves rose in glistening swells like the ocean's own breath, folding over and sweeping across the shore in frothy swirls, then trickling back out with a sandy sigh. Time passed, and the child took to scrambling over and around the rocks, dragging their hands through the shallow pools hidden beneath, and sifting soft sand through their fingers in hopes of catching something worth investigating. Small half-shells emerged, white or gray and rough with ridges. Tiny spirals and cones appeared also, discarded by their former occupants and left to float upon the waves. Occasionally, fragile slivers of an iridescent shell could be seen shining beneath the water, glimmering silver and pale blue, sometimes pinkish. These treasures were not for keeping, however, for they fell to pieces the moment they were gathered, no matter how carefully the child tried to cup their hand beneath them and lift them into the sun. Afternoon came on, bright and warm, and the child began to turn their gaze out to sea. The breeze blew stronger there, riding the cresting waves in, pressing against the child's legs and buffeting around their ears. There, washed up on a wave, came a flurry of tumbling sand, and something else. Darting forward, the child snatched up a spiny shell from the current, before dancing away from the next wave and holding the treasure up to their ear. Closing their eyes, they took a slow breath in and out, letting their thoughts grow still. They listened. From deep within the shell came the muffled sound of wind sighing, echoing the breeze without. Smiling, the child set their new treasure carefully out of reach of the tide and returned to the water's edge. Glittering sunlight scattered across the rippling surface, dazzlingly bright. Holding a hand up to shield from the glare, they scanned the shallows. Aha! Darting forward again, they scooped up a new shell, this one with smooth walls of pale pink curling away into the depths of the shell. The child held it up to their ear in anticipation. Closing their eyes, they took a slow breath in and out, letting their thoughts grow still. They listened. The muffled rush and pull of waves crested and fell in the curled depths of this shell, rising and falling like a breath. Delightful. The shell was placed carefully next to the one from before, and the child turned again to the sea. There was a small splash ahead. Squinting, the child caught a glimpse of a rotund, mottled gray body gliding through the water, before a snubbed head with absurd white whiskers and dark, soulful eyes emerged. A seal. It regarded them for a moment, flat nostrils flaring in interest, before it dipped back beneath the surface. "I wish you would stay and play," the child called. They seemed to hear a small splash in response, but the seal did not reappear. Occasional clouds drifted in thin white streaks overhead as the sun inched its way across the sky. The grass whispered in the breeze. The waves rumbled and hissed into spray. And the glittering light over the water began to drag at their gaze, tempting their eyes to blink a little longer, scan a little slower, even linger for a time on the smooth, glossy curls of the waves about to break. Water lapping at their toes broke their reverie, just in time to catch sight of a third shell, about to be tumbled back into the tide. Darting forward, the child snatched it up and shrieked a little in surprise as a sneaky wave splashed cold up their arm and across the back of their legs. Retreating a safe distance away, they turned the shell over in their hands. This one had a pale blue interior, like an echo of the sky overhead. Rivulets of water gleamed silver in its ridges as they brought the shell up to their ear. Closing their eyes, they took a slow breath in and out, letting their thoughts grow still. They listened, and in this one, they heard a voice. Shimmering light danced across their eyelids, coaxing them to open. Before them, in the midst of the sunlight glimmering on the waves, was a girl. Only her head and shoulders rose above the surface of the water, and she seemed to float there with ease, regarding the child with a small smile. Her hair, hanging in long, dripping locks, was not quite any color, neither all white nor pale gold, not silver or fading bronze, but all of them at once, shifting like light dancing in the depths. Her eyes were large and dark, but gleamed with playful mirth, and the child smiled back in wonder, the shell lowering from their ear. Yet the song continued, fluting and lilting over the water. Half in dream, the child stepped forward toward the being in the waves. She smiled brighter in return, and the song seemed to grow. Forward again, step by step, the song beckoning them closer. Icy water sloshed across their neck, waking them suddenly from their stupor. They blinked, the song vanishing from their mind, and found themselves standing waist deep in the foamy current they did not remember entering. Confused and alarmed, they floundered backward through the waves until they reached dry sand, then turned back, eyes scanning for the strange girl. An unbroken expanse of water swept out before them, with no sign of anyone but themselves. No footprints but their own marked the beach. No voice but the gulls filled the air. The rough weight of the shell still rested in their palm. Turning it over and over in their hands, they squinted at it closely. It looked ordinary. Blue, but otherwise ordinary. Glancing up, there was still no sign of the girl. All was still. Tentatively, they raised the shell again to their ear and tried both to listen and not listen all at once, just in case. Only muffled wind sighing. The child took a deep breath and slowly released it, listening just a bit more. Waves cresting with muted thunder. Still ordinary. Another breath in and out. Their mind gradually grew quiet. Their heartbeat slowed. In and out. Gently, a voice rose over the sound of wind and waves, weaving through the air and rooting itself somewhere in their heart. Indigo warmth stole through their limbs, flooding them with a strange mixture of peace and longing. It carried with it the memory of wild places beyond the dark at the edge of the ocean, of resting safe in rocking waves, of adventure calling in a storm blooming on the horizon. This time, the child kept enough of their senses to keep their feet firmly planted in the sand, even as the very air seemed to shimmer with song. "Why will you not come in?" The voice came from nearby. Opening their eyes, the child saw again the girl floating in the waves. She smiled and repeated, "Why will you not come in?" "Who are you?" the child asked. "What do you want?" "You asked me to stay and play," she answered. The child's thoughts raced. "Wait, you're the seal I saw?" The Selkie smiled brighter with recognition and nodded. "But you disappeared when I asked you before," the child accused. "I had to fetch something first." They heard her voice, but her lips did not move with the words. It seemed rather that the sound came from all around them. The Selkie, sensing the turn of their thoughts, gestured to the shell still held in their hands. "You see, I had to fetch you that gift so that I could call to you and you would hear me. The child glared suspiciously at the shell. I don't understand. I have no human voice in the sea, the Selkie explained. There is no need for one there, and I can only venture on land occasionally, so I keep my voice safe in that shell and bring it to those who need to hear me. The child considered this for a moment. It seemed like rather a lot of bother if one ever just wanted to have a conversation. And what if it was lost? Or stolen? Your thoughts are too serious, the Selkie laughed, splashing at them impatiently. I thought you might come with me to race the waves, to roll and tumble and dive. You almost came in before, but then you ran away instead. I got a little scared, the child admitted. Why? The Selkie tilted her head. The water was deep and the waves are high, the child replied. The better for swimming, the Selkie encouraged. More places to dive. Can't you swim? I can, the child replied. But not so well as you. I couldn't hold my breath for so long, or swim against the tide. The Selkie regarded them with her dark, liquid eyes, considering the strangeness of their unwebbed hands and ridiculous feet. No, I see now that you are not quite made for such things after all. The pair were silent for a moment, each considering the differences between sea and shore. You could transform, the Selkie said at last. Swim away from your human skin and into a new one, like I do. Is that possible? The child wondered. It has been done before, the Selkie replied. Not often, for it takes quite a bit of magic and a great desire to change. You'd have to be sure. But how do I do it? The child asked. The Selkie held out her hand. Come, let me take you, and we will ride the back of the tide out to the horizon, far out, where the spray blows wild and the water becomes one with the sky, where the wave first swells and has not yet learned to bend. It is easier there to slip into the sea and slip out of the world. The child was moving closer but paused at that last. Slip out of the world? The Selkie watched them, eyes dark. For 7 years, you will roam the span of the ocean as a seal, before you touch land once more with human feet. The child glanced at their feet, half buried in the sand, and wiggled their toes a little. The Selkie tilted her head curiously. The price of one gift is often the loss of another. But it is only 7 years. Is that so hard to give when you have so many before you? Thoughts swirled through the child's mind. 7 years. Yet the chance of freedom and of magic lay here, a world they could never otherwise discover. The price was part of a human life not yet known, human plans not yet made. Did they matter so much? The Selkie coaxed again, voice lilting through their mind. What is there in the dry places of the world to rival the wonders of the deep? Have you never wished for the chance to swim as freely as you now run, as fast and as far as you want to go? to dance in the ticklish green of the kelp forests, to explore the sea caves and root out their treasures, to know the rocking of the wave as it lulls you to sleep, and to add your own song to the sea. Gazing over her shoulder, the child saw more snubbed heads appearing above the water, with big, earnest, dark eyes, as winding harmonies twined about the waves and beckoned. "Come with us," the Selkie sang, "and we will teach you to gather the most captivating songs in the world, to keep safe in the deep in shells of your own, to call your own playmates to you when you wish." Listen. What could you find out there better than the singing of the sea? Closing their eyes, the child took a slow breath in and out, letting their thoughts grow still. They began to listen, and slowly to smile at a familiar sound now carried on the breeze. The Selkies too stilled their song and began to listen. Together they heard the wind rustling in the grass. They heard the waves tumbling and lapping at the shore. And further off, but growing nearer, a woman's voice, singing a gentle song of evening falling, of lights glowing safe and warm in the windows, and of supper waiting at the table. The child opened their eyes, still smiling. "Thank you," they said to the Selkie. "But I believe I am made for a different type of adventure. And the most beautiful sound in the world for me is right here." The Selkie was silent for a moment, then nodded, and the child turned away. The shell dropped, forgotten, from their fingers as they ran toward their mother, just appearing among the rocks to call them home for the day. Mother smiled at the sight of her child running for her arms and opened them wide, gathering them in. "You went too far today, my love," she said. "I lost sight of you at the window and came down to find you. You must remember to look back sometimes and not lose sight of home," Mother gently admonished. "I'll remember. Did you find anything special running wild out here all day?" The child glanced towards the water's edge, and Mother looked with them, but did not seem to notice the gray seal bobbing there. She saw only an ordinary shell lying in the wet sand. All three watched as a wave fanned over the beach and tugged the shell away, tumbling it in the break where it vanished. "Oh, you lost your treasure, my love," Mother said. "No, I have a better one," the child replied, and gave her an extra-large squeeze. Mother laughed and began to carry them back over the beach to their cozy home, just up the little sandy path. The Selkie considered the pair for a long, still moment. Then she curled her body in a bow to the child, before she too sank beneath the surface and was gone, off to join her sisters in the deep. The child yawned, eyes drooping. Their head hung heavy, coming to rest on Mother's warm shoulder. Sand crunched softly beneath her feet as they rocked safely in her arms. Even the waves seemed to soften and hush as the purple of evening bloomed in the sky. Mother smiled gently and whispered low, "You wandered far today, my love, and now it's time to rest. Lay down your weary head and dream of drowsy things. Adventures wait tomorrow. Now it's time to sleep."